Video we're going to be breaking down to Jim Ratcliffe's interviews that he give on Wednesday. To be quite honest with you, there's plenty to discuss in today's video, so we want to know your thoughts and opinions, so get involved in the chat. First of all, what was your overall takeaways listening to his interviews?
I thought the interviews, any Manchester United fan will take great comfort in listening to what he said. He means business. You can clearly see that. As a Manchester United fan, expressed a few words there, the greatest club in the world. Yes, you expect things like that, taking us back to the promised land, all the things we want to hear, and all the things we would say. You know, he's paying a lot of money for his co-ownership, and he seems to be feeling as though he's on top of the world. And to be honest with you, I do take comfort from his words, and I think everyone else should.
Yeah, he did mention about the ownership issues, etc. And himself at Manchester United. And he said, I've always said that we don't own the club. These shareholders, myself and the Glazer family, we don't own the club. The true owners of the club are the fans, the community, and we're merely guardians or stewards for a period of time at the club.
I think there's a lot of, what's the name in there?
Bit of PR, bit of fan PR.
Yeah, a bit of fan PR and everything else like that. Talking to like the Labour councillors and all that, getting involved with them for the people and all that. No, listen, it's they're running the club. In a way, though, he is kind of correct, though, isn't it? Because the fans will always be here, always supporting the football team, and they're just here for merely a matter of time. Yeah, they're here for merely a matter of time, just like you and I are. We're supporters.
No different than presidents and prime ministers, I guess.
No, listen, we're supporters. We support the club. We back the club through thick and thin, from cradle to grave. That's what it is. But the running, the ownership and all that, no, it's nothing to do with the fans. I clearly wouldn't want the fans to own the club, because they can't even delegate, talk to each other or anything. So, you know, listen, they own the club. I like what he's saying. Bit of PR, fine, you know, and then we move on with that PR.
I have got a bit of news about fan ownership and that was Thomas Ziliacus, which we will get into later on in the video, because there's been some news on him today, and I'm sure it's a name some of you might remember from the summertime. But I'm going to get into what Sir Jim Ratcliffe said about standards here at Manchester United. Yeah. And he says, we have to ensure that the right people end up in the right positions. Every person in management must be world class. And then it is important to create a positive, supportive and friendly and high-quality environment. That culture was missing before. Only in such an environment can you get the best out of sportsmen. If it's successful, the results will follow automatically. That's the plan I believe in. So it's a plan he's going to be definitely sticking to as well.
Yeah, he's going to definitely be. There's a lot of things he's going to be sticking to. A lot of changes, you know, the values and everything. You know, people have to respect the values of the club and all that. Yeah. So, you know, you've got to look at certain things, what he says, and what does he mean, you know. Like Man United stands for certain values. You know, down the line, you know, there's players there what haven't stood by the values of Manchester United, and a lot of other people inside there. But and it's not just about representing yourself, representing the club. It's what you do on and off the field. There's a lot of things there what I can look at and say, he's on it, and it's going to change.
Yeah, with him talking about the right people at the club, you know, wants world-class people in certain positions. Yeah. He was obviously asked about Erik ten Hag, the manager, and he said in the last 11 years, Manchester United have had a lot of coaches and nobody has been very successful in that environment. That says to me there is something wrong with the environment inside the club. It is not constructive for me to blame anyone. It's just a fact. And the focus is on how I change that environment to get the best out of the coach and also the squad.
Well, he's changing the environment already. He's bringing best in class. He knows there's no point in like verbally abusing anyone or going on. He's just getting on with the job and dealing with it, which is absolutely fantastic. Because when he's bringing in people like Omar Berardi, best in class, he's going for Dan Ashworth, and there's plenty of other people what he's moving into position. He knows what the problems are. He knows what we know, that the people in the suits and the people what have been running it haven't been good enough, and their eyes haven't always been on the prize, which is the football. So he knows what to do, and he's doing it, and that is excellent to see and hear. And the way he come across talking about, he knows what the problems are. Fantastic going forward, that.
Yeah, he did touch on Sir David Brailsford as well and how pivotal he will be in this new era under Sir Jim Ratcliffe at Manchester United. And he said, I think he'll be critically involved in the future of United. He's interested in elite sport and performance, which is what Manchester United is. And I think he's been very, very successful in sport and in cycling. But he's generally viewed as one of the world's best thoughtful people on the subject of sports performance. And you kind of get that idea and feeling in just a matter of weeks of us hearing from Sir David Brailsford as well and being around Manchester United.
Well, he's everywhere, isn't he, at Manchester United? He looks as though he's the leader of it all. Top in his field and everything else like that. Knows all these people, knows what he wants. Jim Ratcliffe is going along with it. He knows what's needed and he's got the right man. You see Brailsford at the match, home and away. You see him round Carrington and everything. He's involved in everything. He's involved in bringing all the people in and everything. He's getting the right technical people in place and he's going to get the right players and he's going to get the people in every department working top notch. And to be honest with you, talking just before Sir Jim Ratcliffe there, he wants the proper people in place. And I'm sure there's lots of people in there now know that it's time up.
You've seen with Sir David Brailsford as well. I think it was after the Newport game and it was on the Monday, him in around Carrington, and he was giving like sports talks and performance talks to the actual squad, wasn't he, on the day on Monday?
Yeah, but that's,
so he's got an involvement already, like speaking to the squad and what's expected of him going forward.
I mean, is that long term? Is that just for now? I'm not too sure. But the thing is, you really, when you see people putting the nose in straight away like that, I think he should be there just putting the people in place and that. But, I think the summertime, then we'll have a clear idea of his role. Will he be involved in that? To me, at the moment, I don't think it's the right thing to do. But who am I? They know what their plan is. They're set to it, and it will take time to get in place. Strange, but hey,
Yeah, talking about roles, at Manchester United, a lot of us have said, especially over the last few weeks, few months, about style of play. And he was asked about that. And he said, we'll decide it. And it'll be us, the CEO, sporting director, and probably the recruitment guys, what the style of football is. And that will be the Manchester United style of football. And the coach will have to play that style. Now, I'm a little bit like that, especially with the ending of it, and the coach will have to play that style. But when you look at these big European giants of football, you look over at Germany, you look at Barcelona, the recruitment and the stuff that they brought over to Manchester City, that is how it's actually aligned at the football club and the structure, isn't it?
Well, it's just telling you.
Even at Brighton.
Listen, it's just telling you straight, you do it my way or it's the highway.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Because I don't believe what's been going on for 10, 11 years. That's what he's saying, that no one's done it the right way. And I've got the people in place to do it the way it should be, to bring the Manchester United style back, that attacking style. That's what we want. We want to see it. To get to the promised land as he sees it, this is the way you're going to have to do it. And if you don't like it, then you're out. So strong words, strong words that. A vision. Will it be achievable? I'm not too sure. But at the end of the day, he's got a direction and he's going to put the people in place to do it. And if you don't like it, you're out. And I think there's a lot of people will already be listening and looking at that and thinking, I won't be able to deal with this.
What did you think of his comments when he said that he expects to be challenging again in the next 3 years or so?
I think when he started talking about, like, challenging for 3 years, some people have interpreted it as like winning things in 3 years. There's a message of caution there as well. This is what he wants, this is what his aim is, this is where Manchester United should be. But there was a message of caution to all the fans that it will take time and there will be a few stumbling blocks along the way. He did say that. Yeah. So, 3 years, I think what you should expect in 3 years' time is that Manchester United should be back challenging. That doesn't mean to say back winning. So I've got to go with that, back challenging in 3 years. And he's talking about in the Premier League, challenging for the league, challenging for the European Cup, things like that. So that's where he wants United to be, challenging in 3 years' time. Yes, we might pick up 1 or 2 things along the way. That may happen. Yeah. But realistically, 3 years. This is a big overhaul. He knows it. He said it. And it will take time to get people on track the way they want them to be.
With him saying roughly 3 years, go back to Ralph Rangnick's famous interview that he gave at a press conference, and he said that this club needed open heart surgery.
Yes.
But when you listen to that interview from Rangnick, he actually did say that this could only take 2 to 3 summer transfer windows to turn things around.
Yeah, well, he's basically saying that himself, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. This is what's needed. It's not been good. No one's done it right. It's been very, very poor for 10, 11 years. The people in place haven't been good enough. I know what to do. I'm now changing it. I'm getting the people in place, the right people. And he's basically saying 2 to 3 years, we're back in the promised land as he sees it. That's how he says it.
It's a bit quick, though, isn't it?
No, that's how he sees it.
To me, personally, I don't expect Manchester United to be consistently challenging at the top of the Premier League for another 5, maybe to 10 years. I don't mean like 10 years, but round about that 5-year mark plus. I think because of the gap between us and Manchester City. But then again, is this just a case of getting the right people in the background, you know, to look at the actual structure of the club and implement that actual standard?
Turning it round, like I've said before on Erik ten Hag, keep him for the year. See how it goes, see if he turns it round, see if he's got the same philosophy as all the people coming in. Yeah. And that's all you want. You want the right people in the right place. Well, it could turn round. It could turn round quickly in 18 months. You know, they're there. We need this in place. They'll go out and get it. We need this player, but they will go and get the right player with the right attitude and everything. The due diligence to take this club forward will be in place with all the people Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir David Brailsford have got in mind. So it will be quicker. We've messed about. We've just gone out there, frittered money away here, there and everywhere without doing the due diligence. But once you've got all the clowns, and I call them clowns, out of this club, out of the way, there's no one hindering getting all this. The priorities right. No one hindering him. Out the door. They're not going to have these people inside here much longer.
Tell them.
They are not going to, I'll tell you, they're not going to have them. There's no way. And I can't see a lot of them, most of them, will be gone in the summer. Within June, by the end of June, they'll be out of there. And that includes people like Murto. And I'm sticking it on quite a few others as well.
Darren Fletcher's there as a technical director as well.
I was just going to say that, but I couldn't spit it out because I've got a lot of things to spit out about the people inside there. But Darren Fletcher's the time. I mean, we're just having someone escaping the route now. Your set piece coach. They know it's coming.
Eric Ramsey. There was talk the other day, I seen of him going to Minnesota. Is it the American League over there? Well, they want him as the head coach. You're
at Manchester United and you end up going there. Sorry, that just tells you your level, right? But what it is, they know what to do in there and people will be moved out. And it's great that you hear it, you know what I mean? It's great that you hear it. I absolutely thought the interviews were fantastic for my ears and for the future, and everyone really should be giving this time.
Instead of someone going out, you know, a lot of people on the channel who were commenting want Dan Ashworth to come in. And when he was asked on that to Jim Ratcliffe, he said Dan Ashworth is a 10 out of 10 sporting director. You can't really criticise Dan for looking at maybe the most coveted job in football as a sporting director, and in particular with the challenge at Manchester United. And he was also then asked about what's been going on with him at Newcastle and being placed on gardening leave. And he said, it's a bit silly, personally. I won't get dragged into that. What I do think is it's completely absurd to suggest a man who is really good at his job sits in his garden for 1.5 years. It's absurd and stupid.
Well, it just tells you what
I'm all for that.
Yeah,
it's great.
I'm all for
it.
He's just what he's doing is putting Newcastle down as if to say your babies.
Yeah.
You're throwing your dummy out. You're throwing your toys out the pram, right? And as we said the other day about Newcastle, they're all ill, okay? They're angry, they're ill because they've been put in the place because Dan Ashworth wants to come to Manchester United, biggest club in the world. You ain't the biggest club in the world. You think you're going to be, but you never will. You'll never be on the pedestal of what Man United are. And he's just virtually saying that, don't be silly, you're acting like children. Well, they don't think the children, Newcastle. So they're in for a big shock, and everyone else is in for a big shock who's going to deal with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos.
You might be in a big shock when I say later on what Thomas Ziliacus has been up to at the end of the video. But Akash Paul, cheers for your super chat, my mate.
Thank you.
Finally a plan, and let's follow it. SJR, we trust. Clubs like Bayern and Madrid have this structure, and the coach just enforces it. More sustainable.
Well, we've got a plan. We've got a structure. We've got people with ideas. We're getting the right people in place. You're right. And it's great to have. So everyone really should be like, not overly like, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, with a bit of caution. I mean, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has a bit of caution as well. There will be bumps along the way. Yeah. But it's a plan, and plan what's going to be executed by people who are first class in their positions. So it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to be honest, I'm all for it. The interview, really enjoyed listening to him, to be quite honest with you. And he's put a lot of pressure on himself, but also that pressure is being heaped as well onto staff inside Manchester United and to the players as well. So no one's under any illusions now of what's expected of him going forward at Manchester United.
No one's under any illusions. He talks about two priorities, obviously. The first priority and the main priority, and that's what's going out there on the pitch. That's the first priority. He's got to get that right. He says that's my first priority, so he intends to get that right, which is great news. And then the second priority is the issue of the stadium. Now, he's talking about the stadium, you know, and I look at body language, and, you know, we could do this, we could do that. To me, from the body language, this is my interpretation, I think he wants to build a new stadium. I don't think he wants to knock that down and rebuild. I think he wants to build a new stadium. And, you know, that's what I'm reading. And to be honest, if it's a new stadium, I'm fine with it. I'm not against it. I'm not against, like, knocking the ground down now and rebuilding on it. But if a new stadium needs to be built, then that's fine. But that's the way I read what Sir Jim Ratcliffe is thinking. He wants a state-of-the-art, the best. Well, at the end of the day, he says he's not in it for the money, which is fine. You know, he's got enough money. He can spend so much money and just not worry about it. Well, that's fine. So I think he's, in his head, I think he's going for this state-of-the-art, the best. He's a billionaire. By the time the Christmas comes, he'll have spent £1.5 billion of his money acquiring a co-ownership, you know, putting his own money into it.
Well, that's the bit to be invested into, the infrastructure of maybe the stadium or training facilities. But if, during that interview, when I did hear him talk about the training facilities, he's not too mithered if they do actually leave Carrington. He seems to actually quite like Carrington and where it is.
He says he likes Carrington, and we can improve it. They were his words. Yeah. We can improve it. So I don't think, you know, you've got to remember the amount of people what have been round Carrington and looking at it and everything. He likes it. He thinks we can improve it. And I think that's where United are going to stay.
Ain't there a bit of shale gas under there?
Oh, the shale gas. It's Sir Jim Ratcliffe's got shale gas under there.
No wonder he don't want to leave.
No wonder he don't want to leave. No,
he's will be in with the diggers soon.
No, he said in the same thing when talking about the stadium. You know, Carrington, needs to be looked at, and it can be improved. So,
yeah, he was also asked about Manchester City and his thoughts on if they were found guilty of the 115 breaches they were accused of. And he uses one of your buzzwords, what you use quite often, and I'm sure a lot of you remember my dad Tony saying, he says, I would not wish that upon them. I just want to smash them on the football pitch.
He's clearly been listening to us. Someone's pointed him in the direction of the Webby and O'Neill channel. Yes, smash them, right? Listen, at the end of the day, City, noisy neighbours, that's what they are. At the end of the day, they win the treble. This is how I look at it as a Manchester United fan. They win the treble. 2 weeks later, it's all over. No one's interested. No one's going on about it or anything. Liverpool is the one. And he talks about knocking off the perch. Yeah. So it's Liverpool. You always have to have the eye on them.
Yeah, he does actually say about the enemy, as he calls it. And he says, Liverpool and Manchester City are the enemy. Nothing would please me more than to knock them both off their pedestals. There are things we can learn from them, of course. I respect them a lot, but they are still the enemy for us.
Yeah, well, they always have been and always will be in my life.
What do you think he's wanting to learn from him then? Is it the standards and the structure behind the scenes at both football clubs?
Well,
maybe the managers. Have we got to look at that as well?
Yeah, maybe the managers, maybe the infrastructure, the way they conduct themselves. Probably, I'm not too sure. What could have learned from Liverpool? Don't know.
I don't. Well, there's a few things we'll be able to say on camera anyway.
No, not on camera. No. They look at the managers there, the profile of the managers. The fans, the people respond to him. You know, they've got the enthusiasm. They're always at it. You know, 90 minutes on the sideline, at it. They represent the club. They represent the fans. They've got a communication with the fans. Pep sometimes goes a little bit deep, but hey, I
think he's correct. Sometimes I watched the second half. Pep, in the way he responds back to the fans, in wanting a more of an atmosphere there at the City ground.
Yeah, well, Klopp said the same, but what it is, they don't see the reality of football. If you're kicking off at 12 o'clock at 12:30 on a Sunday, you know, people's enthusiasm and all that is, oh, God, here we go. You know, they don't understand kickoff times and that. It does affect crowds, you know, Monday night, Thursday night, Friday night football. It does affect crowds, you know, and it may damage going further down the line with more games being televised live at mad o'clock times.
Yeah, going on to the next one, and it's a big one. Mason Greenwood. And he says, it's a decision to make for us. He's a Manchester United player. We need to look at the facts, judge fairly, and take into consideration what the values are of the club. Then we come out of it with a decision on Greenwood. Listen,
that decision's been made. The words values, Man United stands for values. You know, the decision's been made. Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself wouldn't want somebody round him like that. We all know why. We've heard the tapes. We know what's been said or done, irrespective of is anyone guilty or not guilty, or let's have a look at the evidence and all that. Listen, the values, his values, he's not having it. He's just not having it at all. I don't think walking into a football club, right, spending all that money, lifetime, this is who I am, a Man United fan, and then I have to deal with this. He doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to be around it, okay? We're moving forward, we're changing, and at the end of the day, will Mason Greenwood and his attitude change? Well, you know, I don't think so, and I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe doesn't think so. But you have to look at who Sir Jim Ratcliffe is. Does he want somebody round him, okay, being involved with his football club, part of his football club, okay, that's what I'm saying, part of Manchester United, right, spent a lot of money on it, he's happy, he loves it, he wants it, and then that keeps coming up. I don't think so, okay? I'm looking at him, I'm telling you.
So in a nutshell, it's about the values of Manchester United and what Manchester United Football Club stand for, and you don't think that negative press, what's around Mason Greenwood, he can have that going forward at the club?
He says people have to respect the values, okay? That's what he's saying. And there's a lot of people over the last 10, 11 years have not respected the values of this club. Okay, they've not respected the managers, they've not respected the coaches. People inside this club for years have been doing what they think they'll get away with, and there's people in there now getting away with things on the pitch. Okay, and it's going to change. And Mason Greenwood, and I'm telling you, it's how I interpret looking at him and listening, and he's telling me that Mason Greenwood ain't going to belong to this football club.
Yeah, he was asked about his previous interest in Chelsea, Barcelona as well. And he did say there is no comparison between Chelsea and Manchester United. The scale of Manchester United is incomparable to any of the London clubs, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's talking...
Like 10 out of 10 for that statement, Jim.
I think the question was asked. I don't know whether it was a trick question, you know what I mean, try and get him. But he turned round and... he actually went for Barcelona, he went for Chelsea, all the interest in any other football club. And it was to do with, like, Ineos itself having part of, like, the sports side of it. That's what it was. I don't think it was, like, his personal, I want this, this is what I want, I'd love to have Barcelona. As it probably would, I think any of us would love to have Barcelona or be owner of any football club. But I think it was going for these football clubs as part of the Ineos. Manchester United, this is part of him, who he is as a Manchester United fan. something every Manchester United fan would love to have. And he's got it. And he's the cat with all the cream all over his face.
Yeah, he's also cleared up the conversation around his shares in Nice and Manchester United, and if that could cause any problems going forward when it comes to European competition with the two teams. And he says, we have spoken to UEFA. There is no reason for Nice's shareholding to prevent Manchester United from participating in the Champions League. I will be very clear on that.
Yeah, well, he's made it clear. Listen, he would have done the due diligence 12 months ago. Because there's a situation there, right, what he had to clear up to make sure that going forward, nothing stops in the way of him getting a minority stake in Manchester United. And as they say, being a co-owner, you know, I don't think at the time he thought he'd be a co-owner, do you know what I mean, right? But he'd have cleared everything up, so he had a clear run to it. So there's no worry there.
Going on to the new stadium, it's big talk amongst Manchester United fans, splits opinion, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, I think there are two main issues in the club. One is performance on the field, and the other one is probably the stadium. So what's your overall thoughts in it? And what feeling do you get from him? What he wants, obviously, in my eyes, he wants a new stadium. But is it going to be on the same site as Old Trafford?
No, I think...
A few hundred yards up the road, up in the car park, further up?
I think it'll be at the back of the car park, where the freight terminal is, along that way. I think that's where it'll be. That's my feeling, that he wants a new stadium and it'll be there. You know, and I've got to put this in as well. It's not been raised, not by anybody I've seen out there or in the media or anything. You know, getting the stadium and that, you know, don't be surprised if Adidas or someone like that, I've got the name on it, the naming rights, you know, and, you know, that's the world we're going forward. These are the ideas, you know.
If the new stadium was built, like you say, just up there in the car park, a few hundred yards away, what would your own personal feelings be if it wasn't called then Old Trafford and it was called, let's say, the Adidas Stadium or the Ineos Stadium?
I don't really know. It wouldn't come out my mouth nice. No. Just it wouldn't feel right. But I think what it'd do, it sort of separate me from what I've been doing, following all my life. It'd separate me from the name of Manchester United. But you know,
is that because you think that's just because of your generations and what you've been used to as a football fan? You know, you've been following them since you was 12 years old, maybe even 10 years old. How old are you now? 65?
Yeah.
So it's a long, long time of what you've been used to and what you've been used to following. And it's a massive change, this. If we were to move to a new stadium, let me know out there, you know, especially your age, your generation, and how you would actually feel. Because for me, like I've always said, this sort of decision should have, like, focus, if there is any, in fan engagement, on the younger generation and what's best for them and what they want. Forget myself and other generations.
Well, I don't think it's about fan engagement. I mean, if you look at Bayern Munich, the Alliance Stadium. Yeah. You know, the Alliance, you know, you look at that. Is that a problem? I mean, I'm just talking now. Is that a problem, that name, for Bayern Munich? Well, why should it be a problem for anyone else? I'm not advocating for a name. Yeah. I'm just saying, if it's fine for Bayern Munich and everyone was happy with it and it helped them financially going forward and everything else like that, why shouldn't we consider it? And I think it may be considered. It's not come up in a conversation anywhere. It's just something I brought up to give a comment to use out there, because I do believe at some point it will come up.
What do you think of his argument as well of wanting to build a super stadium, really, for the Northwest as well, and on taxpayers' money as well?
He wants to build the biggest and the best. You can see that in his eyes. And the way he's talking about it.
Do you understand his argument for that as well?
I understand that as a billionaire. Yeah. A man who's not bothered about money. That's how I understand it. That man's not bothered about the money. Yes, he'll save money here, there and everywhere, like anyone would do. You know, you've got to have prudent housekeeping, right? But he wants the biggest and the best. I'm a multi-billionaire. I'm the richest man in this country, and I've got billions to spare. That's what he's saying. So why shouldn't I have the biggest and best and leave that to the generations of Manchester United fans going forward? That'll be my legacy. And fantastic if he achieves it.
What was your thoughts on when he was asked about Sheikh Jassim?
Sheikh Jassim?
And he said, still nobody's ever seen him, actually. The Glazers never met him. He never. I'm not sure he exists.
Well, what can you say? I've never met him.
I'm all for that. I was actually on the floor laughing, you know, when he said that.
No,
I actually couldn't believe he come out with that.
Yeah, he's just thinking.
It was actually great.
Yeah, he's just thinking, well, I've never met the bloke, never seen him. No one's ever heard of him.
There's a big two fingers.
Where was it?
Jassim.
I just think that's his humour. I think that's his humour, as if to say, well, who are you?
Yeah,
who are you? I won. You know, good night, God bless, see you later.
Yeah, as I was mentioned in the start of the video, Thomas Ziliacus, if you remember him in the summer.
The clown.
Yeah, we actually done I think it was the thumbnail as a clown, wasn't it?
We was the first people to do it.
Because he was trying to clown Manchester United fans and just trying to give himself, you know, the big ego, the big reputation through trying to get Manchester United when it was just never going to happen. But yeah, an arrest warrant has been issued from the former Manchester United bidder, Thomas Ziliacus. And it's because of the Singapore police force have issued the warrant over his actual business or business dealings over in Singapore. So he's on the Interpol's most wanted list.
Yep, he's on the
wanted list.
Well, the difference between him and Sheikh Jassim, there's actually a person. So they know who he is.
Yeah.
But he was credited by us as the biggest clown going around with the red nose and that. And some people actually believed what he was saying, and I could never understand that. But he's actually refused to return back to Singapore, where the police need to speak to him. No, he's disappeared. He's on the wanted list. He's on the red alert by Interpol, and any country what is involved with Interpol have been instructed to nick him. So he's a goner, him. But he was a goner as soon as he opened his mouth. And why people ever listen to him, I don't know. But there was many clowns. Many clowns out and about, and you know, we looked at it, and at times we looked clowns when all this was going on. But at the end of the day, you know, there has to be a winner, and Jim Ratcliffe, looking at him, big smile on his face, cat cream all over.
Yeah, I'm all for it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The last few weeks you've been hearing his interviews, what he's been saying publicly, and especially that one yesterday. I'm all for it, and I give him my full backing anyway as a Manchester United fan.
Yeah, I give him my backing as a Manchester United fan. I want it all to work. Sure, everyone's got to want it to work. You know, talking about money, you know, it sounds like going forward that I'm not saying he's going to be frugal with the money. He's going to be splashing it about as well or whatever. I think he's looking forward to like the next 18 months to 3 years, getting everything right, and then the club looking after itself, self-financing. You know, he didn't talk too much about the financing side of it, but I do believe he thinks that the club can actually run and generates enough money on itself. So it's going to be interesting to see as we go down the line when we talk about debt. You know, conversation about debt. Again, that wasn't discussed. If it was, I missed it, I apologise. But that has to be talked about going forward, and we might hear it soon, do you know what I mean? But it is a big issue going forward. If the club is to look after itself and sustain itself, it should be earning enough money. Then let's see what happens. But talking about money and talking about debt, that has to come soon.
Talking about money, have you got a few quid to borrow us?
Absolutely nothing, son. You know the standard procedure. You're getting now.
Okay, I'll follow on. Just to end on this, Luke Shaw.
Yes.
I mean, some bad news that out for 3 months. They're aiming for him to come back towards the end of the season, but...
Well, Luke Shaw...
How huge of a miss is that going to be?
Well, listen, Luke Shaw, I'm waiting for more updates today, to be honest with you, and I think what we'll do, we'll discuss him tomorrow in the preview. Yeah. I'll just get the final details on him. But if he's out proper, then that is a big blow. Yeah, and going forward. Yeah, I think we've gone through everything we needed to today. Hopefully, you've enjoyed today's video. If there's anything else you want to discuss, what's Jim Ratcliffe said, or anything else about Manchester United, please get it in the chat, because we do love to see your interaction and your comments. And plus, it also gives me an opportunity to nick some of your own opinions and take them for myself. So much appreciated for some of yous out there. I'm only joking, by the way. But yeah, smash a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. And we will be back tomorrow with a match preview of Manchester United versus Fulham. Until then, you take care, and we'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Thank you.